Hey Squishies! Welcome to another episode of Replay, the show where games are art. That's right, finally back. As you may notice from the title of this video, this is not the conclusion to the Moon. I still intend to do that at some point, but the way I was doing those episodes was absurdly labor intensive. I was spending around 10 hours to produce videos that were being watched by like 4 people. So I've decided to do something that's a little less extreme. A simpler approach, shorter videos, unscripted, which was one of the main things that made it take time when I did, sorry, I went into the credits because I left it sitting too long. It's one of the main things that made it take time when I was working on the old version of Replay, was that I was scripting it in advance. And while that led to fewer ums and pauses and more focused episode content, it removed a lot of the spontaneity, it removed some of the energy, and it made it take way, way longer, because it takes a while to write 40 minutes of talking. So I've decided not to do that. Instead, this is going to work more like any of the other Let's Plays I've done, except that this is not blind. This is a game I have played a lot and have ideas and thoughts about, and so I will be talking about those rather than reacting to a game I've never seen before. I mean, I tend to talk about thoughts and ideas I have about games as I'm playing them anyway. The difference here is that I've had a lot of time to think about this game. In fact, this is the game that I've had the most time to think about, because this is a game from 1992 that is the first game I ever really fell in love with, and so I've thought about it a lot over the years, and my ideas have had a lot of time to evolve and change. The game in question is, of course, the Ur-Quan Masters, aka Star Control 2. I'll explain later why it's got 2 titles. I'm actually playing the HD remake, which I've also played before. It's very similar to the game I played in 1992, except updated graphics, and it has voice acting, and I'll get into how all that happened, because the story of how this game exists and perpetuates is actually pretty interesting. It's got an unusual path. I think the other thing I want to say before I get into it is a content warning for something a ways ahead. This game takes a lot of cues from pulp science fiction, from like the golden age of science fiction, like early to mid 20th century pulp science fiction. Some of it was taken a little uncritically, so there is some sexist and racist stuff in here involving aliens. Like, there's never any like use of the N-word or treatment of any humans as lesser than other humans directly, but there is some using racist tropes about real human races and transferring them onto aliens. It's a serious problem. It's actually worse with the voice acting. It wasn't as bad in the old game in the early 90s, but the voice acting actually made it worse in a lot of ways. I will, when I am close to actually encountering it, which, as I said, it's way later in the game than I'll be getting to today. When I get close to actually encountering it, I'll give another warning. It is eminently skippable. It's honestly some aliens you only have to talk to once. So, yeah. I think that's about it. So I'm gonna start the game and talk a bit about what this is. Now, as I said, this is a game I've played a lot, but I haven't played it in many years. I want to edit my key controls. 8, 2, 4, 6, turn 0. Oh, actually, I seem to have already done so. Good. This is the same control scheme I used in 93. I did not play this game immediately when it came out. A friend loaned it to me in middle school, so probably 93 or 94. But truly a game that stuck with me. And it was still something I played quite young. Fungi! You will come to understand fungi in time. Or not, that's part of the glory of fungi. I'm gonna let the intro kinda play. I mean, this is kind of giving you a summary of what happened with it. Through various shenanigans, this game got open sourced. Oh, this part's not actually voice acted. Okay, there were many great battles, Earth and her partners in the Alliance of Free Stars, against the evil Ur-Quan and its hierarchy of battle thralls. And the Ur-Quan were winning. Meanwhile, on the edge of the known frontier, an amazing discovery was made. Far beneath the surface of an unexplored alien world. A huge underground city. Filled with the technological wonders of an advanced alien race, the Precursors, who vanished 1,000 centuries ago. But then the main Ur-Quan fleet broke through the Alliance's defensive line, isolating the planet, stranding the scientists 100 light years away from Earth. They waited hopefully for a rescue vessel, which never came. "20 years have passed. We, the survivors of the research mission, have colonized this world. We continued our investigation of the underground city, and we have discovered its purpose. It is a factory. Factory for building starships that look vaguely canine. But there aren't enough materials to make a complete vessel. We can finish only the skeleton of one starship. But that must be enough. Because you must captain the vessel and return to Earth. To travel the great distance, you must push through into hyperspace." I love this visual. I love what going into hyperspace is doing to the ship. "Find out what has happened over these many years. Tell Earth of our plight. And if the war with the Ur-Quan still rages, fight for Earth and the Alliance as well as you can." So that's the game intro. It's a basic sci-fi plot. The first game in the series, the original Star Control, was an adaptation, essentially, of the game Ur-Quan into 3D. And in the process, they changed it from Ur-Quan to Star-Con because they shifted from fantasy to science fiction. Basically, it was two multi-species groups. The good guy aliens that included humans, and the evil empire that had a bunch of slave races. They all had their own specialized ships, which all had their own specialized weapons that behaved in different ways and did different strategies. The actual gameplay was very similar to Space War, the original video game. It was looping around a starfield that had a planet in it that had gravity, and you could use the gravity to do certain tricks. But the big difference was that the ships were not symmetrical. Each ship had had different hit points, energy reserves, and different weapons it could use. And they behaved differently. So some ships had to get up really close and attack quickly. Other ships could hang back and lob things from a distance. Other ships were tanks, that kind of thing. It was one-on-one fights. That was the original game. This game, they took that combat system, removed it from what was essentially a board game, a 3D board game, and moved it into an RPG. So this game has much more of a story. As you saw, like the premise of it is that war from the first game, people were, like, scientists were stranded for a really long time by that war, but they discovered a precursor ship, the traditional science fiction old dead guys who were super advanced and now they're gone, and took it back home to figure out what it is. So our premise is, we're trying to get back home. We have no idea what happened in the war, but we were caught behind enemy lines, so presumably getting home is going to be really difficult and challenging and dangerous. So I'm going to name my captain. I'm going to be Frobor, of course. And as for ship, well, I did just observe that it's vaguely canine looking in that one shot in the opening, so I'm going to call it the Dachshund. I think that's how you spell Dachshund. And here we are at the beginning of the game, and you notice the name of what star system we're in. So, we're already home. Like, this is one of my favorite things in games. Like, I expected the first time I played this for it to be this long journey with getting to Earth being the end of the game, and instead it starts with your arrival home. I'm just going to very quickly. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. So that's my main ship in the center. It's mostly empty, so it's going to be pretty crappy. As you can see, it's got 10 fuel, which is very low actually. And you can sort of see attached to it is another ship. My main ship is a sort of tugboat. I can pull other ships with me from the various species in the game. So that's good because my main ship is not good right now. So I have a regular human ship with me. Am I not doing this right? My controls do not seem to be functioning at all. That's weird. Huh. One second. Yeah, that's good. Let's, quickly save and then go back out to the main menu to figure out what the heck is going on. Because I know this game has worked before. Let's try changing hon. Wait, did that not save? That age? I don't know what's going on here. Let's see if this worked. For some reason it's forcing me to use ESDF, which is not really something I'm a fan of. Okay, I think I get this. Okay, I think I fixed it. Sorry about that. I'll probably cut most of this out. There we go. And as you can see, my ship turns really, really slowly. And actually, one interesting thing this game did was moderately realistic space physics. So your ship has 3 directional controls. You can rotate in either direction by pressing left and right. You can accelerate by pressing forward. And that's it. If you want to decelerate, you have to turn around and accelerate in the opposite direction. Fortunately, currently my ship is a piece of crap, so that's hard to do. And Earth is bright red. Isn't that interesting?
Attention, interloper. Heed this recorded message. This drone vessel speaks with the voice and authority of Ur-Quan. You are trespassing within Ur-Quan space. This world, Earth, may not be approached for any reason, nor will hostilities against our orbital platform be tolerated. In addition, your ship does not respond to standard identification transmissions, and is therefore deemed to be independent. This is not permissible. Only subservience shall be tolerated. This drone needs to inform Ur-Quan of your transgressions. You are commanded to remain here and await the arrival of the Ur-Quan. Disobedience will be punished.
So this completely broke my little 12 or 13-year-old mind. Video games in those days had the story almost entirely told through the manual. It was rare to have a game with a real story that unfolded in the game itself. It was getting more common by the early 90s, but it was still not super common. What And this game seemed to be playing into that. Like, the previous game had no story in the game itself. It had a huge amount of story given in the instruction manual. It delved into all kinds of, like, the history of how all this happened, and, like, details about all the different races and how they ended up on the different sides and all this stuff. And they... like, this game, it seemed like the same. It seemed like that was all set up, and then the game would be the journey home. But instead, it flings this twist at you right from the start. You don't have a home to go back to. I can go straight to Earth. And I mean, you can see that's Earth. It's not a very good map projection of Earth, but that is Earth. And I can scan it. Except, no, I can't. It doesn't work. I can't launch something down to it. So something's going on here. And where better to investigate than this starbase?
Attention unidentified space vessel. I am Starbase Commander Hayes of the Slave Planet Earth. Energy cores exhausted. Scanners and deep radar are non-functional. We cannot identify your vessel. Are you the scheduled hierarchy resupply ship? Repeat. Are you the resupply vessel?
Okay, so yeah, not only has Earth been conquered by the villains of the previous game, they're not even doing a good job of ruling it. Their resupply ship that's keeping this base running isn't out there. It never came.
What? Never mind, look. We won't last much longer. Here's our situation. According to our oath of fealty to the Ur-Quan, we must... We have no space vessels of our own. And the shield prevents us from contacting Earth.
Which would be why we can't scan it or send ships there.
We know there's a hierarchy base on the Earth, but we can't contact them. The Ur-Quan was supposed to resupply the base at regular 5-year intervals, but we haven't received anything in almost 8 years. What we don't recycle, we can usually synthesize. But to do so, we need replacement radioactives for our generator energy cores. If you could bring us some radioactive elements, we can fabricate the cores ourselves. Are you willing to help us?
Yeah. I know where to get them.
The next time I talk with our masters, I'm sure they will reward you.
So, this is a relic of the times. The game is... I should have got a different way. The game is introducing me to the way I'm going to gather resources throughout the game by sending shuttles down to planets and collecting them. But it's doing it in an incredibly mean way, because Mercury and Venus are the hardest planets in the solar system to collect resources on. Oh yeah, nice touch. The HD remake uses actual photographs of the planets from like NASA. Anyway, as I was saying, but Mercury is actually an incredibly dangerous place to visit in the early game, and it's the only place in the solar system that you can get the radioactives that he asked for. So this is this screen. It gives you a lot. The most important things for visiting the planet are temperature, weather, and tectonics. They are ranged from purple for none. Blue, I think, is safe. If I remember right. I definitely remember yellow is kind of dangerous and red is really dangerous. Don't go there until you have better ways of dealing with this stuff. And what they determine is there's random hazards on the planets. Temp means random gouts of flame that run around the surface. Weather means random lightning strikes. And tectonics means random little bursts, like circular bursts of earthquake. They're a pain to deal with. Now, what I can do, as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff scattered around the planet. These are the resources we can collect. Orange and yellow are both pretty good. That's radioactives and precious metals. But because of the danger of the planet, I'm going to try to just grab some radioactives as quickly as I can. The other important thing about a planet is the fuel use, which is underneath the image of my ship, which tells me how much fuel it'll take to go down and how much fuel it'll take to go back up. So I'm going to use a total of twice that. I actually don't know what happens if you don't have enough fuel to take off. I know if you don't have enough fuel to land, it won't let you. Anyway, in the lower right, you can see my lander. Those green dots will fill up as hit points. Hit points in this game is represented by crew, which is an odd choice, I know. But kind of the idea presented in the manual is that, like, the ship itself is really sturdy, but as fights go on, like, panels explode and in standard Star Trek fashion, and those kill people. And if you no longer have enough people to operate the ship, you lose. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna launch and then take back off again really quickly as soon as I get the... And yeah, as you can see, 3 people died that fast. Mercury is really nasty for early game. As the game goes on, I'll get better shuttlecraft that can better handle that kind of thing. But right now, yeah, I've already lost 3 of my crew. And I've only got 68. I've got 18 on the human ship and 47 on my ship now. Well, I had 50. That was where the 68 came from. So yeah. Anyway, that is that part of the game. That's going to be a big part of the game, and that's going to be where I'm doing most of my talking. Because resource gathering is a little uneventful in this game. The exploring part is really fun. And probably won't get into that today, but next time. Because there's a lot more to this game than the solar system. But, yeah. Let's go back and talk to the man.
Did not find any radioactive elements for our power cores.
So, another thing that this game had, which is pretty advanced for 1992, they were around, you saw them, but they weren't common at all. I mean, even less so than they are today, and they're not that common today. Multiple dialogue options. Sometimes these have real story impacts. Oftentimes they don't. But yeah, I can demand that he tell me stuff. I can ask him to give me something in exchange, or I can just give them to him. I think I'm going to play this game as a basically nice person, so...
There, that's much better. Power ratings are climbing. Life support is coming back into the green. Deep radar systems and sensors are now online, and I can scan your vessel. What the hell kind of ship is that? Just who are you, Captain?
By the way, the voice acting in this game is not great. It was done very quickly and on a shoestring budget, mostly by friends and family of the developer. But, yeah, I'm Captain Frobo of the Starship Dachshund, survivors of a Star Control Science Research Team to the Vela Star System.
Star Control Science Mission, huh? Captain, I served as a Star Control officer during the war aboard several cruisers in the Corward Front. And if there'd been any scientific mission to Vela, I would have heard about it.
It was, secret.
You know,
I can't believe that
think of
works.
it, there were some rumors that Corridor 9, the Special Operations Division of Star Control, was directing some hush-hush operation near Androsynth Space. The Vela star system. Yes, that would be the right direction.
Would it now?
So, Captain, if you say it's true, how do you explain that huge alien starship you're flying? Why are you here? What do you want from us?
So now we're getting into the real, like, what the game's really going to be about, which is teaming up with the last humans outside the shield on this starbase, giving them the technology we've discovered, and slowly building our way back up to basically reignite the old war.
Fight the Ur-Quan. Win back our freedom. I remember having such thoughts myself once, a long time ago. That was in the first years after the defeat, when it was still terrifying to look up and see the bloody glow of the pulsating slave shield overhead. Though day and night we gazed up at the impenetrable wall as though the sheer power of our hatred would pull it down. And over the years, I spent so much of my time struggling down on the surface, under the shield, and then later up here trying to keep the station alive, that I'd forgotten what it means to be free, to hate our Ur-Quan Masters. And now here you are, in an alien ship of unknown power, offering...
It's not that powerful.
...fight against the hierarchy again, after all these years. Captain, your offer is intriguing. It's tempting to think that with your advanced precursor technology, you can somehow crack the Earth's slave shield and reassemble the Alliance to attack the hierarchy. And this time, win the damn war. Consider the consequences if you should fail. The Ur-Quan won't just punish us here on the station, they'll exact a gruesome retribution on the surface below as well. Before I commit the station to helping you attack the Ur-Quan and accepting the risk of annihilation if we are defeated, I have to make sure that you and your ship have what it takes to oppose the hierarchy. I'll make you a deal. If you can eliminate the alien base on the moon and get rid of that threat at least, I will seriously consider your offer.
So, yeah, I'm gonna ask for details, because who knows what's there.
After the Ur-Quan erected the slave shield around the Earth and established this space station, they decided to leave a contingent of combat ships close to the Earth to keep watch on our planet and confirm that they were obeying the Ur-Quan slave laws. I'm certain they're still out there on the surface of the moon because we can pick up a constant stream of alien broadcasts.
Alright.
Be careful,
Let's go.
Captain. There are probably a dozen Spathi Eluders and Ilrath Avengers down there on the lunar surface. I don't know why they haven't come after you yet, but when they do, you'd better have your weapons armed and your thrusters burning hot.
So, Spathi and Ilroth is a hilarious combination if you played the first game, because the Ilroth are loosely modeled on original series Klingons. They are vicious, bloodthirsty, dedicated to violence and hatred and destruction. They've got a little bit of Lovecraft cultist in them too. While the Spathi are culturally committed to cowardice. That's just a hilarious combination of people to put in a base. Though immediately you see one of this game's problems, which a lot of this kind of fiction has, from this to Star Trek to basically any multi-species space opera type of thing. Everybody's got their single defining trait. Everybody's either modeled on a single Earth culture, like the humans in this game are pretty obviously modeled on the creators' culture of late 20th century America, or they're like built around a high concept trait, like cowardice or bloodthirstiness. It's both very unnuanced and simplistic. While it can lead to some really entertaining stuff, it's unnuanced and simplistic, and more to the point, it is rooted in pulp fiction that wasn't science fiction. It's rooted in how that kind of fiction treated real human races and ethnicities and cultures. So it's It's kind of gross. Anyway, let's do a scan. Now, there's 3 separate kinds of scans, and I have no idea why, because autoscan just does all 3 in sequence, and there's never a reason not to. So the moon has white minerals, which if I remember correctly are the 2nd or 3rd crappiest. It's got an energy source, and it's got all those little green diamonds representing biologicals. Which in this game, as near as I can tell, basically means stuff that moves, because not everything in this game is organic life. So I think what it's detecting is movement. Otherwise, like somewhere like an inhabited planet would just be covered in biological, because like plants and stuff, right? Anyway, let's land somewhere that I don't want to land near the energy source, because I know that from playing this game that as soon as I contact it and investigate what it is, my ship will return and I'll waste fuel if I haven't gathered anything yet. But I also don't want to be close to any of the biologicals, because usually biologicals damage you if they run into you. Except these aren't actually biologicals, are they? This is a much better tutorial for this system. A nice, peaceful, simple place with mediocre resources that I can explore, stuff to blow up. Most biologicals don't blow up, by the way, because I'm firing a stun cannon at them. Most of the time... Oops, I accidentally destroyed... I destroyed some resources. Most of the time, shooting biologicals eventually, sometimes it takes multiple hits, but eventually stuns them and turns them into these little capsules, and you collect them to gather biodata, which is actually incredibly useful a little later in the game. Alright, I guess that's all I'm going to get, so... Report from surface. We have discovered an alien base and have explored its interior. Actually, no, wait. I want to do a more nerdy voice for this. We've discovered an alien base and have explored its interior. It must have been abandoned many years ago, but great care has been taken to make it appear active. Life support systems are functioning, fusion generators are at full output, and robotic construction vehicles have been programmed to roam the lunar surface, bulldozing stardust into random piles. In addition, we have found the installation's hyperwave locked in transmit mode, endlessly playing the same alien recording. Although we cannot translate the message, our Xenotech ensign Rigby believes the message is some kind of alert or mayday broadcast. The base is filled with useful materials and equipment. We will scavenge as much as we can and bring it aboard immediately. Ooh. And now I'm going to save because I know what happens next. Back to base, which of course is all the way on the other side of the world. By the way, you may have noticed there's a calendar right under my ship. Stuff does happen at specific dates. This game, in fact, I haven't found it yet. This game does, in fact, have a time limit. There's some things I can do to extend it, but if I don't do any of those things, there's a certain point in 2060 where I will get a game over. I think only once or twice when I was a kid did I ever actually hit that. So, I have two options here. I can lie to him and tell him we attacked it and destroyed them. Or I can be honest. And like I said, I think I want to play this as a basically nice person this time around. So, we found the base, but it was abandoned years ago.
All these years we've been listening to their incoherent broadcast, we never even guessed. Captain, listen closely. Long-range sensors show a ship closing on this station fast. Our computer identifies it as ILRAP, Avenger class. I think you've got a fight on your hands, Captain. Your best bet is to wait until you have point-blank range. Captain, it's jamming our signal.
Oh, and here's our first encounter with aliens.
Wreck of the Dark Twin Kazon, a human and an alien starship. How fascinating. When I intercepted that Ur-Quan drone and learned that an unidentified starship had approached Earth, I never expected to find such a remarkable vehicle in the hands of a human. Humans are prey animals, weak and helpless. But here is a human in an armed starship, and therefore in direct violation of the oath of fealty. I am sure our masters, Ur-Quan, will punish Earth most severely for this treachery when I present them with the twisted wreckage of your ship and your many charred corpses.
Nice guys. It actually occurs to me we've already seen an Ur-Quan. And I mean, this is another thing the game does that in the first game, and therefore to an extent in this game, the pretty races, the ones that looked like humans or like aliens, like cute animals or that kind of thing, were almost all on the human side, and the ugly bug monsters were almost all on the enemy side. This game plays with that a little in some interesting ways that we'll see further down the line. But there's a few different options of what I can say here. Some of these are just, this will cause them to make fun of me. This will cause them to make fun of me in different ways. This one actually gets some useful information. Now, I will warn, well, I'll talk about that in a second.
I will gladly explain. We have spent many years being evilly prey with Ur-Quan. They are a pitiful, easily killed species. And we would have continued in this divine worship of Togar and Kazon, but we required additional crew members and repairs to our cloaking device. So we departed the Jiglass constellation and set course for home. But before we had reached our region of space, we detected the passage of a nearby vessel, the Ur-Quan drone. It informed us about you, so here we are. And now you die.
So one of the other options, they mentioned destroying that drone, which means it never got to the Ur-Quan, which is good news for us. But in this one, they give you some even more useful information. Two pieces, actually. One is that their cloaking device is broken. That's really good, actually, because that's the main challenge in fighting Ilroth, is that they can turn invisible. The other is that there's a species called the Bakunk who live in Jiklas. Bakunk were not in the first game. So playing this game in 1992, they were a complete mystery. Now, here's the thing about this fight. There is a random chance that I will spawn in the direct path of fire of the Ilroth. And if that happens, my human ship does not stand a chance. It will die very quickly. However, if I can get away from the Ilroth ship quickly, I can destroy it without it having a chance of doing anything to me with the human ship. If I try to fight it with my main ship in its current condition, it will be a very difficult battle. We'll be on an even footing. It won't be able to kill me quickly, but I won't be able to kill it very easily either. So that's why I saved. I'm going to take the gamble and go with the human ship and just start accelerating. Okay, good. Shit, that's not good. That's not good at all. There we go. That wasn't bad. So, that's combat. That was an unusually quick one.
Beautiful sight, Captain. I haven't seen an Avenger blown away like that since the battle in Draco. I guess you've shown that you can handle yourself in battle, Captain. So my last reservation about helping you has been dissolved. I will commit this station to helping free Earth and defeat the Ur-Quan. We may get our atoms rearranged in the process, but by God, Captain, we're going to try. So the obvious first step is to get the precursor equipment and software over here so that we can make it work with our ship repair fabricators. But then what, Captain?
So, we have a few options. This is actually how the game goes. Build your strength, build an allied starfleet, bring the Ur-Quan to their knee equivalents, which I love that phrase, knee equivalents. Or you can be mysterious, or you can be kind of aggressive and jingoistic. I'll go with this.
Plan, Captain. Let's get to work. Good luck. By the way, Captain, I think we need a name for this new alliance we're going to forge. And since it was your idea, it's only fair that you get the honor of naming it. So,
reasonable.
What will it be?
So the Alliance of Free Stars was the alliance in the first game, the good guy aliens. So New Alliance of Free Stars is kind of the obvious option. Concordance of Alien Nations, I think that's a reference to the show Alien Nation, which is mostly forgotten now, but was actually really good. The Empire of Frobor makes the commander quite anxious. United Federation of Worlds is obviously a Star Trek reference. I'm gonna go with that.
That has a familiar ring to it. Nonetheless, we'll make it so. The United
Make it so.
Federation of Worlds. Now, Captain, I expect the configuration process for the starbase to take at least 2 weeks, so let's get to work. I have good news to report, Captain. We have successfully integrated the precursor technology from your ship into our fabricator system, and as you can see, we've already begun minor repairs on your ship, patching up some of the micrometeorite holes. We noticed that your ship does not have an emergency warp escape unit, so our engineers rigged up some for you and each of your escorts. Now, you should be able to escape from a bad situation with the touch of a button. But there is a cost, however. The unit gulps up 5 fuel units each time your precursor ship uses it. Also, we now have a limited capacity to make modifications to your ship, to refine Starship fuel, to build additional combat ships, and to train new members of your crew for the flagship and any ships you acquire for your fleet. Captain, I know you're eager to get to work, so I'll be brief. If you have any questions how this starbase works, what resources we need, or just some background information on the galaxy, don't hesitate to ask.
Alright, so I'm going to start by giving him... This is... Honestly, I consider this kind of a bug, but I can offload... Actually, no, that isn't. Yeah, no, actually, I can. I just offloaded the radioactives that we gave him earlier already. But, okay. Now, I can ask him a ton of stuff. I can ask him about the stuff the Starbase can do. I can ask him about the whole history of the setting. I can ask him all kinds of stuff. I'm going to save that. Some of it I'm just going to explain myself. Some of it I'll let him answer, but another time.
Return soon, Captain.
This is the Starbase interface. In my opinion, this is a gorgeous piece of music. The music in this game is fantastic. It was fantastic in 1992, and the remixes for the HD version are just as good. Most of them. Some of them, most of them. So I have a few different things I can do. I'm going to start in the shipyard, because both my ships took some damage, so I need more crew. So yeah, resources I collect get turned into RU gets turned into stuff. I can also put stuff on my ship. So I can refuel, which I'm going to do some. And I can add and remove modules. This game, like, the alliance is very close between us and the Starbase, so it doesn't do the standard thing that a lot of RPGs do, where selling something back gets you a lot less than buying it in the first place cost. It's equal. So selling a fuel tank is 500, buying one is 500. Fuel tanks hold 50 fuel. My ship can hold 10 without any fuel tanks. That's 60. Crew pods hold 50 people. Storage bays determine how much resources I can carry before I can't fit any more on the ship. And there's other kinds of modules I can do. These slightly differently colored slots are where I can put weapons. I can have a maximum of 4. That slot is rear firing. That fires out of the 2 sides. That fires 2 shots like as a spread, and that fires 1 shot straight forward. But I can put anything I want in this square. It's just it's the only one that I can put weapons in. So crew, storage, fuel, dynamos. You may have seen with the human ship when I was firing weapons, that red bar was going down. That's energy supply, and the dynamo determines how fast it regenerates. Iron bolt guns are the only weapons I have right now. And that's all I have access to right now. I'm not going to buy anything yet. I am, in fact, I think, going to stop here for the day. Next time, I'm going to explore the solar system. There's some neat things hidden here, including one of my favorite sequences in the entire game. Is hidden as essentially an Easter egg for people who thoroughly explore the solar system. But I hope you enjoy this. Next time I'll talk more about the backstory of this game, both in terms of the story of the game itself and how it came to be and its weird copyright adventures. But like I said, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all next time on Replay, the show where games are art. Bye!